I got to think what I need to do to help improve your situation, to help you cope with the caring needs you have.
They should listen, and they shouldn't. One thing is, if they say they're going to ring you back, they should do that.
Take the carer more seriously, really, and talk to the carer, because they are, and I've had other experience before with my husband, they are their biggest asset, and without a good relationship with the carer, the person, we're not going to get very far, really. It's got to be a team effort, and the carer is the most important asset in caring for the person.
Yeah, I think it's really active listening skills, being able to think outside the box, think creatively. We don't all fit nicely into a nice support plan, a nice care plan. Not all of us as families tick all those boxes. We're all unique individuals.
Obviously look at us as human and people in the sense where we want to carry on building our life, and if we've lost in touch with our hobbies and our friends, we do want them to help us put things back on track. So to help us for the cared ones, to make it easy for us, our roles that we are doing, and we don't want them to just show us loads of paperwork and give us like 8-10 weeks waiting time when we're going through the crisis now. We feel that it's important that when we're going through the crisis and we have maybe the cared for going into hospital, that they are able to help us in that situation then, and not to put it off and say so-and-so can help you and so-and-so, when only when we go to those people they tell us to come back to them.
I think they need to be empathetic without any doubt whatsoever, because particularly if you've not used to needing outside help, it's a major shift, and it's very difficult for many people, particularly as you get older. There's an independence as you get older that perhaps you wouldn't have been aware of as younger. So you don't particularly want people to interfere, as it were. So I think they need to be aware of that reluctance, and particularly of our generation, possibly, that we're not used to as much assistance, maybe.
I believe that social workers have to listen to the carer and the cared for, because they are a team.
Good experience. She's human. She knows. She's professional. She's there to help. And it's like having somebody that you can trust come through that door and be at the end of the line if you need them.
They should come over as wanting to help you. I had an assessment done and I felt that it was done just because I asked for it to be done. I don't think it was done, it was just a paper exercise. As long as they got it down and filled in the questionnaire, they didn't really seem to care.
I would like them to be honest. I'd like them to be able to tell me exactly where I can go and what I can expect. I don't want people to make promises to me that turn out to be pie in the sky. I just want people to be honest and give me the help I think I've got a right to have.
They should be open to their carers' needs, listen, and then signpost and suggest, maybe if we can't do that for you, maybe you could look into it in a different way.
To read the case history before you attend a meeting, or read the case history before you do a home visit, because that gives the person you're going to see, it gives them confidence in you, that you have took the time to read up on the history. Whereas when somebody comes and they know nothing about the situation, then you're starting off on the wrong note, on the wrong foot.
They shouldn't use buzzwords. That's quite a thing I have, either in the written word or the spoken word. we all use that probably in our professional lives, but when someone is in a very vulnerable time, the last thing they want to be hearing is words they don't understand.
I think they need to listen carefully to both the cared for and the carer and anybody else that she comes in contact with regarding the carer, the care for, but also not promise things or say that's a good option if the social worker hasn't got the knowledge, up-to-date knowledge, that that service is available and is a quality service.
I think they need to listen, and they actually need to listen to the carer. Quite often I've had to sort of pull a healthcare professional to one side after they've visited the house. And when you're dealing with somebody with Alzheimer's and perhaps a personality disorder, then what they're telling the healthcare professional that's visiting, could be complete fantasy. And they're sitting there believing them because they're sounding, legitimate. And so when they leave the room and I see them to the door, and I have to say, I'm sorry, but that was just not true. Everything you've just heard in there was just not true. He doesn't take his pills on time. He doesn't eat the food. He doesn't this. He doesn't that. And he's just told you quite the opposite. So, will they please? Would you please take the time to actually listen to the carer?
And if it serves as a prompt and a reminder to those that are trying to do a good job and promote the needs of carers and the cared for, it can only be a step in the right direction. And I definitely want it to work, especially for new and upcoming social workers. They need to know that carers are really crucial to all the work that we do.
They've took the time out to listen to what it is that I'm actually going through, and even though they couldn't meet all my needs, they were looking at the most important one.
You can make phone calls to them, and you leave a voicemail, and it's important that they always return your call. Or I've sent emails and they don't respond to the email, so it's just the old communication thing, which I think is very important, because again then if they don't return your call or they don't reply to your email, you just feel as if you're forgotten about, and again you're not being listened to.
Yeah, he wasn't a social worker, he was a care manager, and he was based in the learning disability team. Unfortunately, my son doesn't have learning disabilities. He's on the autism spectrum, the older one, and despite the time limits, lack of resources, despite my son not wishing to engage, and he actually never did engage with the service, this particular care manager did attempt to come out and visit several times, listening to what I thought might work and what wouldn't work, and what I knew as a historian of my son's life. He took all that on board, and he attempted probably half a dozen times to engage before having to back off. And that was just brilliant. That was a lovely piece of work. Nothing much was achieved, but it made me feel better that I'd tried, and it wasn't working, and it was a good form of support for me, having somebody, to offload to, really.
Do not give the impression that you are overworked, have too much work to do, and not enough time to concentrate on the assessment. And do not come also with a complaint form when you walk into the door.
Looking after carers is not only morally correct, but it's also financially correct. If you can prevent someone from falling ill, it's a lot cheaper for the health service.